Think about the last time you truly did nothing. Can you even remember it? For most people living in the modern Western world, the answer is no. We have built lives so packed with tasks, notifications, obligations, and noise that emptiness itself has started to feel like a threat. We call it being productive. We wear our busyness like a badge of honor. And when the anxiety begins to surface, we respond by scheduling more, doing more, filling more. But in Japan, this kind of life has a name, and it is not admired. It is called a life without ma and without Yutori.
The Japanese character for Ma is made of two parts. On the outside, a gate. Inside the gate, the sun. Together, the image is of sunlight streaming through the empty space of an open doorway. Ma is not simply emptiness. It is meaningful emptiness. It is the space between things, the pause, the gap, the interval that is not a void to be filled, but a presence to be felt. In English, we tend to see space as the absence of something. A gap between two notes is just silence. A pause in conversation is just awkward. An empty room is just a room that hasn't been furnished yet. Ma sees it differently. In the Japanese understanding, the space between two notes is what gives each note its weight. The pause in a conversation is where real understanding travels. The philosopher and design scholar Arata Isozaki, one of Japan's most celebrated architects, described Ma as the raw material from which all experience is built. It is not background, it is substance. Now, where does this come from? Ma is not a recent invention. It is ancient, rooted in Shinto, the indigenous spiritual tradition of Japan, which holds that the natural world, including silence and open space, is alive with spirit. Kami, the sacred forces of Shinto, are said to dwell not only in objects, but in the in-between. In the moment before a bell finishes ringing, in the space between mountains, in the threshold of a doorway. This is why, when you walk into a traditional Japanese home, the rooms feel breathable, purposefully uncluttered. Not because the Japanese are minimalists in the Western aesthetic sense, but because they understand that emptiness is a living thing. Once you understand Ma, you begin to see it everywhere in Japanese culture. In Japanese architecture, the tokonoma, a small recessed alcove in a traditional room, holds perhaps one scroll, one flower arrangement, one object. The rest of the alcove is empty. This is not decoration. The empty space around the object is what gives the object meaning. You are not meant to look at the flower. You are meant to feel what the flower, surrounded by emptiness, creates in you. In Japanese music, particularly in the ancient art of no theater, a theatrical tradition that has survived unchanged for over 600 years, silence is not the absence of performance. It is performance itself. The great No master, Zeami, writing in the 14th century, described the most powerful moment in any performance not as the peak of action or drama, but as the moment of absolute stillness that precedes it. He called this mono no kaware, the feeling evoked by the space between. The audience leans forward. Their hearts fill. Nothing has happened, and yet everything has. In the Japanese tea ceremony, chanoyu, Ma is built directly into the ritual. The ceremony moves at a pace that modern Westerners often find uncomfortable. There are long pauses. Movements are slow, deliberate, and purposeful. The host does not rush the guest. The guest does not rush the host. The silence between them is not empty. It is full of presence, of gratitude, of respect. And in Japanese conversation, something that surprises many Westerners, silence is not rude, it is generous. When a Japanese person pauses before responding to what you've said, it is not because they have nothing to say. It is because they are giving your words their proper ma, the space they deserve before a response is offered. In the West, we fill every silence. We are afraid of it. Ma asks, what if you stopped being afraid? What if silence was not a gap, but a gift? If Ma is about the meaningful spaces within experience, then Yutori is about the meaningful spaces within a life. Yutori translates most closely to spaciousness, or room to breathe. It is the feeling of having a little extra time, a little slack in the rope. A Sunday afternoon with nothing scheduled. Arriving somewhere early, not out of anxiety, but out of the simple pleasure of having time to look around. American poet Naomi Shihab Nye once shared a story about a student she met in Yokohama, Japan. On the day Nye was leaving the school, the student handed her a handwritten note. It said, "Here in Japan, we have a concept called Yutori. It is spaciousness. It is leaving early enough to get somewhere so that when you arrive, you have time to look around. And after you read a poem, just knowing you can hold it, that you can be in the space of the poem, and it can hold you in its space." Yutori is the intelligence of building margin into your life so that your life has room to mean something. In Japan, the concept was formally recognized through what became known as Yutori Kyoiku, relaxed education, a school movement in the 1980s and 90s that deliberately reduced academic pressure and curriculum load to give children more time for themselves. The philosophy behind it was clear. A child who has no space cannot grow.
Modern Western culture has built systems that treat human attention as a resource to be mined. The smartphone in your pocket is, at its core, a machine designed to eliminate Ma. And we have internalized this. We feel guilty when we rest. We describe unscheduled time as being wasted. We measure our days by output and output alone. But research consistently tells a different story. It is in the unscheduled moments, our daily walks, staring out of windows as we eat breakfasts, that the brain consolidates memory, generates creative insight, and recovers its capacity for empathy and connection. Ma knew this before neuroscience had a name for it. And Yutori knew that a life with no slack in the rope will eventually break. The Japanese have a word for breaking. Karoshi literally means death from overwork. It is a recognized cause of death in Japan, written into medical and legal language. It is a national crisis, and it is perhaps the most extreme example of what happens when a culture abandons both Ma and Yutori entirely. The lesson is not that Japan has everything figured out. It does not. But these concepts exist precisely because someone, somewhere, long ago, understood something that we are still struggling to remember. You cannot fill a cup that has no space in it. You do not need to move to Japan. You do not need to adopt a new personality or a new schedule. Ma and Yutori are not programs. They are orientations. Small shifts in how you relate to time, to space, and to silence. Here are 5 ways to begin. 1. Leave space between your tasks. Before you move from one thing to the next, build in a gap, even 2 minutes. Sit, breathe. Let the previous thing finish before the next one begins. 2. Practice intentional silence once a day. Not meditation, if that feels too formal. Simply, a moment with no input, no music, no podcast, no phone. Sit with your coffee. Eat one meal without a screen. Let silence be present without trying to fix it. 3. Arrive early, on purpose. Leave earlier than you need to. And when you arrive, do not look at your phone. Look around. You have been given time that belongs only to you. Use it to simply be where you are. 4. Protect one unscheduled hour per week, not free time to catch up on tasks. Truly unscheduled, no agenda. Let the hour decide what it wants to be. This is how Yutori begins to restore itself in a life that has forgotten it. 5. Notice the spaces in beauty. The next time you listen to a piece of music you love, pay attention to the silence between the notes. The next time you look at something beautiful, a painting, a landscape, a well-designed room, notice what is not there. Train your eye to see Ma. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The Japanese have a proverb. The space of a bowl is what makes it useful. A bowl filled completely to the brim can hold nothing new. It can receive nothing. It can only spill. Your life is the bowl. Ma is the space inside it. Yutori is the margin around it. Both are not luxuries. Both are not rewards you earn after you've finished being productive enough. They are the conditions under which a human life becomes worth living. You do not need to do more. You need to create the space in which what you have already done can settle, deepen, and become wisdom. We'll see you in the next guide.